every new character and cameos in Thor, Love and Thunder, one of the most highly anticipated Marvel ventures has finally arrived with a bang, and Thor, Love and Thunder has been getting a wonderful response so far. Taika Waititi takes charge after Thor, Ragnarok, and this is yet another humor-filled, emotional journey with some of Thor's fighting skills thrown in there. The film is more entertaining and light-hearted fun than anything serious, and the viewers will be pleasantly surprised by some new characters and unexpected cameos thrown into the mix of things. In this video, we will take you through all the new characters that we encountered and also reveal the cameo appearances that the fans thoroughly enjoyed. However, there might be a few spoilers along the way, so you have been warned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Gorr, the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale. Christian Bale is one of the Hollywood legends who is perfection personified. Be it as Batman in the Nolanverse or essaying critical roles in movies like American Hustle or The Machinist, he slips into the characters effortlessly. There could be no one better to handle the main antagonist in the movie, Gorr, the God Butcher. As the name suggests, Gorr has only one aim in his life: the elimination of all gods. He started as a devoted follower, but the struggles along the way made for a bitter experience. He had to deal with the trauma of watching his daughter die in his arms, and when he finally encountered the god he worshipped, it shook his belief system. This god was self-centric and arrogant, without a care for his devotees, and this disappointing encounter changed Gorr's life forever. He bonded with a necrosword, a deadly weapon that bonds with the user like a symbiote and is capable of killing gods, and this marked the beginning of his god-slaughtering journey. The movie version is a toned-down version of the comic books, but Christian Bale still looks intimidating enough as the serial killer of gods. One by one the gods fall before him, and it grabs the attention of Thor, who is helped by his ex-girlfriend Jane, Valkyrie and Korg, as they all try to put an end to this threat. Even the direction of the character has been changed considerably, and in the movie he actually brings back his daughter, unlike in the comic books. It might suit the need for a happy and satisfactory ending, but the climactic moments of Gorr undermine the true nature of the cosmic threat that he is. Besides, such a character was not utilized completely and deserved a longer screen time. Even so, Christian Bale steals the show with a power-packed performance, and this is one villain that you will feel for because of his tragic backstory.
Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane?
Jane Foster as Mighty Thor, played by Natalie Portman. One might argue that Jane Foster is not a new character in MCU, but her appearance in Thor, Love and Thunder is certainly something very different from what we are used to. The brilliant scientist from Earth is shown to be suffering from cancer, and the treatments are not really helping in the 4th stage. We get to know that during her relationship with Thor, the latter had once requested Mjolnir to protect Jane if she was ever threatened, and it registered with the mighty weapon. Now, when Jane is battling with her life, she becomes worthy to wield Thor's hammer, and it also bestows Thor's powers upon her. However, the powerful, mighty Thor version of Jane comes with a painful clause. Every time she picks up the hammer and transforms into Mighty Thor, her cancer gets worse. The treatments become useless, and she moves closer to death every single time she answers her duty calls. The movie dwells heavily on her relationship with Thor, their pent-up feelings finally finding an outlet, and their chemistry is spot on. It is adorable while it lasts, but it does take away some focus from the actual Thor. Many of the times, the two are fighting together and daring to face Gorr's ruthless vengeance, armed with a Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, respectively. In an ultimate act of sacrifice, Jane picks up the Mjolnir one last time in order to save Thor's life, despite knowing that it would mean certain death for her. The only consolation can be found in the post-credits, where you realize that she has reached Valhalla, the heavenly abode for the brave warriors. She is received by Heimdall, who welcomes her into this realm. It remains to be seen what MCU plans to do with Natalie Portman's character, but the actress was impeccable in her role. And the chemistry between Jane and Thor was livelier than ever.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick!
Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. It all started when a fan theory and a few rumors that he might be on board for Thor: Love and Thunder. The fans were pleasantly surprised to find out that he was indeed a part of the trailer, and the movie features him in a pretty important cameo. Russell Crowe plays the role of Zeus, the king of the Olympians, the god among the gods, chilling in the safety of the omnipotent city. He is far from what we have seen of Zeus in the comic books. Unlike the righteous and the brave king of the gods, Zeus in the movie is more of a self-centric, ignorant character who simply cares about the merriment of the gods. He knows about Gorr, but the fact that he has a necrosword makes him step away from the challenge of dealing with him. The movie mainly played around with the comedic value of the character, and Russell Crowe has the right flamboyance and comic timing for the same. When Thor made the request for help in his fight against Gorr, he was least interested. He dealt with Thor with a subtle arrogance, showing off his powers and flicking off his clothes while having him tied up. His weapon is a deadly thunderbolt, but he is not exactly a master of warfare either, because it takes Thor a little over a minute to use his own thunderbolt and punch a hole through his heart. He is presumed to be dead until we see that he has recovered from his injuries in the mid-credits scene. Maximus from Gladiator turning into a selfish god scared for his life is not exactly the character we expected, but the mid-credit scene holds some hope in this regard. It could be a saving grace and add some seriousness to the character of Zeus, although he is still shown as someone angered over the humiliation of defeat at the hands of Thor. He orders his son Hercules to make the mortals fear the gods again, and the beginning of this journey would be with an act of revenge on Thor. Hercules, played by Goldstein. This could well be the most important among all the new characters introduced in this movie. Hercules is only shown in the mid-credits scene, and it was a closely guarded secret that no one could imagine. We can only get a glimpse of Hercules as Zeus orders him to set the record straight with Thor. The armored, muscular Hercules is played by none other than Goldstein, and he could be the next important Marvel character in the movies to come. From the looks of it, he is going to have quite a few adventures facing Thor, and it might well be a situation where the two mighty warriors might fight together for a cause. Mysterious cosmic entity, Eternity. One of the most important cosmic entities in the movie is Eternity, a sentient force that has existed since the beginning of time. According to the comic book background, Eternity supported creation, and numerous story arcs are featured around this character. In the movie, Eternity is a representation of the Marvel Universe. Gorr, the God Butcher, plans to reach Eternity where nobody has ever been before. A visitor gets to ask for one wish, and Gorr intends to wish for the death of all existing gods. Eventually, Thor convinces him to bring back his dead daughter instead of pursuing his hateful revenge. You can imagine Eternity to be something like a collective consciousness that is the root of every concept and structure that we see around us. Heimdall and His Son. We only see a brief glimpse of Heimdall, played by Idris Elba, as he welcomes Jane into Valhalla, but his son Axel is shown to have inherited his powers. He helps Thor to the location of the kidnapped children by sharing his vision, and it can be assumed that Axel will have a role to play in the coming movies. While Heimdall is gone, he can be the perfect substitute and continue with his legacy. If Thor is to take on Hercules, he would need all the help from his fellow warriors, and Axel's special skills would surely come in handy. Chris Hemsworth's children, especially India Hemsworth as Love. You might miss out on Chris Hemsworth's twin sons, Sasha and Tristan, playing the versions of Thor in the initial flashbacks. Their blink and you miss cameo, however, is compensated by Chris Hemsworth's adorable daughter, India Hemsworth. She plays the role of Gorr's daughter, and the movie opens with a tragic sequence where Gorr helplessly watches his daughter die in his arms. It ignites his passion for slaughtering the gods, and in the final moments of the movie, Gorr uses his one wish at Eternity and brings her back from the dead. Thor promises to look after her in his absence, and the climactic moments of the film show us Thor's parenting skills. It is also revealed that Love has certain superpowers as well, and the duo head into battles protecting the weak, with Thor wielding Mjolnir and Love carrying the Stormbreaker as their weapons. It is a promising new character, and although the events are very different from the comic book fate of Gorr's children, it might be indicative of what lies ahead. The duo of Love and Thor might be seen more in the future, and given her superpowers, she might just become a permanent superhero herself. Chris Hemsworth's children were not the only ones in action. Natalie Portman and Taika Waititi's kids also star as the new Asgard kids who are kidnapped by Gorr and his shadow monsters.
And giant goats!
Oh, look at those! They are wonderful!
Yes, they are. They also scream quite a lot.
Thor's goats, Toothgrinder and Toothgnasher. Thor once helped a king protect his race by defeating the invading alien race. However, his actions also resulted in the destruction of their holy shrines, and the king wasn't exactly pleased with his service. In return, he presented him with 2 giant goats, Toothgrinder and Toothgnasher, and they simply add to the comedic element of the movie. Their hilarious screaming sound is frequently heard throughout the narrative, and these goats are also capable of pulling their chariot across the Bifrost as Thor and his companions look for the missing children. They also help Korg during one of the attacks by Gorr and his shadow monsters. The goats might be odd pets, but they are pretty effective considering their contribution.
I am Lady Sif of Asgard. Your world is in grave danger.
Lady Sif And Miek. Lady Sif won over a few hearts as the brave and fierce warrior from Asgard, and Jamie Alexander reprises her role for a small cameo in Thor, Love and Thunder. Thor receives a distress call from her, and when he reaches her, he finds out that she has been attacked by Gorr, the God Butcher. She lost an arm in the fight, and she was prepared to lay there dying until Thor convinced her otherwise. She is taken to New Asgard, and we don't see much of her any further. The hilarious cameos from Matt Damon, Luke Hemsworth, Sam Neill and Melissa McCarthy. We have already spoken about how the movie prioritizes comedy and romance over everything else, and they keep up with the jokes even in the darkest hours. Matt Damon, Luke Hemsworth and Sam Neill play the role of stage actors in New Asgard, who enact the historical events featuring Loki, Thor and Odin respectively. Even when the children were kidnapped by Gorr and his shadow monsters, they were planning an elaborate play to enact the situation. These cameos provide you no more than a few chuckles, but the quality actors that they are, even the insignificant roles are made extraordinary by their presence. Melissa McCarthy is hilarious as a chubbier version of Hela, and she has a brief appearance when they stage the events of Ragnarok. Not many have noticed that her real-life husband, Ben Falcone, plays the role of the director of the comical play.
Miss Lewis.
Dr. Lewis.
Darcy Lewis, played by Kat Dennings. Do you remember Jane Foster's wacky assistant Darcy from Culver University? Well, she is Dr. Darcy Lewis now, and she makes a brief appearance where she tries her best to cheer up Jane, who is dying from cancer. She keeps up her spirit and requests her to take care of herself, just as she did in the past. Darcy continues to be a supportive friend to Jane and always hypes her up to embrace her wild side. Dr. Erik Selvig, played by Stellan Skarsgard. Back in the days of the first Thor movie, Dr. Selvig was the first one to make the connection that the strange man they found in the middle of nowhere was actually Thor. Since then, he has come a long way, from being mind-controlled by Loki to being a savior for Thor. Love and Thunder has a rather short cameo from him, where he makes a video call to an ailing Jane. We get to know that he has been trying to find a cure for her stage 4 cancer in the lab, but he reveals that the efforts haven't been successful so far.
You're back.
Marvelous verdict. A starfest that could have been taken more seriously. This is not exactly a complaint because we did enjoy the movie. It scores high on entertainment value, and some terrific actors do justice to their roles, making it a performance-driven effort. There are plenty of humor and witty comebacks to be enjoyed, but not everyone desires that from their favorite superheroes, at least not so much of it. Every time the going starts getting serious, there is something to bring a smile to your face, and this might not be preferred by those who expected a dark, gritty tale featuring Thor's fight with Gorr, the God Butcher. Do let us know in the comments below about your views on the movie, and also tell us more about your favorite new characters. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
This is my vow. Oh gods, well done.